Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Path to Prosperity webinar. Hope you guys are all doing well. Let me just check here and see who we got. Excuse me. So we're live and recording, but we haven't actually yet started. So let's just see who we got here. Good, we got some new folks here and some veterans. All right, excellent. We still need about actually over half of you are signed on, so that's actually not too bad. Usually it takes a few minutes, but in any case, while we're waiting on everybody, a little bit of housekeeping, guys. For those of you who are new, welcome aboard. Actually, welcome aboard, everybody. If this is your first one, you'll notice by default you're muted. Okay, and that's by design because we can't all be, live at the same time. So, in any case, and audible at the same time. So use the question box to type in your questions. In fact, I'm going to send you a question right now before I forget, just to make sure everybody's okay. So can you see my screen and hear my voice? So if you can respond to that, just let me know everything is okay on your end. Okay, good. Everybody's saying they're okay. All right, good to see some of you guys. Some of you haven't seen for a bit, and that's okay. In any case, good to see everybody. So what you do is you use the question box to type in your questions. Also, just remember that we do this every single week, different day of the week each week. Typically, that is always 7 p.m. Eastern. So when I'll be in California after the holidays, and of course that'll be 4 p.m. out there. But it's always going to be 7 p.m. Eastern, no matter where I am. So always look for the email the next day from Beverly. It's going to have the recording of this webinar. It's also going to have, schedule changes, schedule updates, upcoming schedule events, future webinars, things like that. And also other information if she's changing anything or making any modifications to any of the platforms. You've got your learning platform, Digital Chalk is the LMS, right? You got My Investment Services. You got the community site. So those are the three main ones. So just look out for updates from that, and that way you can stay current. Also coming up here, a little bit different schedule between American Thanksgiving and Christmas. The week of American Thanksgiving, which is next week, of course, Monday night's webinar, there's only one that week, and it's going to be at 8 p.m. And the reason is we're actually finally launching the affiliate program. So I'm going to, in the webinar, show you some things that you can use yourself when it comes to generating referrals. It's actually going to be, I'm going to teach you a little bit about referrals. I'm also going to give you tools you can use to refer potential students, namely your clients, so that you can get them educated in the world of investing. If you're an agent, you want your clients to be informed and educated when it comes to investing, so they're working with you using the same terminology, same tools, same strategies, everything. It just makes it so much easier. That's quite what we're doing is we're building you the exact platform I had when I was 100% in production, doing over 100 transactions a year. So we finally got it. We're going to be rolling it out to you, and then after Thanksgiving, starting Tuesday the 29th of November, excuse me, is that right? Tuesday the 27th, excuse me. Every Tuesday for 4 weeks, starting on November 27th, we're going to go through a complete training program online. So it's going to be a separate webinar than you used to. The regular webinars are scheduled. Here, I'll just give you that schedule. So that's going to be the regular webinars after American Thanksgiving will be the 29th Thursday of November. And then we've got the 5th of December, the 10th of December, and it looks like the 19th of December. The 4 special webinars, and by the way, those will be back to 7 o'clock, okay? The 4 special ones, the first one on the 27th of November will be on wholesaling, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because that was, we did a poll, kind of a random poll, and that became the one that popped up as being the one people wanted to hear about the most. So these will be like close to 2 hours long, guys, okay? Because I'm going to go into the content, and the reason is you're going to have this at your disposal, not just for you to learn, but you can share this with your clients who are interested, for example, in wholesaling. That's the 27th. On The 4th of December, Tuesday, that one's going to be on rentals, buying rentals. The 11th of December will be on, let's see if I got these right. It's either going to be flipping or property management, and the last one will be the other of those two. I just can't remember the exact order here. So in any case, that was in an email that came out from Beverly. So I just want to make sure everybody understands the mix here, so you know what you can expect. Now, to tonight's webinar, we're going to actually talk about property management, and it has nothing to do with what's coming up after Thanksgiving, and it has everything to do with the questions we've been getting and the feedback you've been giving me. So we'll likely spend this week on property management, and even though we're going to cover it in detail in December, we'll probably do it a little bit the week after Thanksgiving too, just to get a little more detail in there, because that's such a big subject, you can't cover it all in a simple 1-hour webinar, especially if you add in Q&A and things like that. So in any case, let's go ahead and hop. Let me just real quick check for questions to see if there's any questions in here. It looks like everybody's okay. Okay, thanks, Stephen. I hope everything is all well with you too. Appreciate that. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, for tonight, I'm going to go into property management from your perspective. Let's say you have your own properties and you're managing your own properties. You can also look at this as if you're managing for one of your clients, okay? No, just real quick, legally speaking, in the United States, you can actually manage properties if you're only doing it for one person, you can manage properties for one person without a license, without a realtor's license, but only one person, one owner, okay? As soon as you manage for 2 or more people, you've got to then have a license. Now, you can either have an agent's license and have that agent's license with another broker who not only allows property management, but also has E&O insurance coverage to cover that. Or you can be a broker yourself and have your own company, and you have to have your own license, your own broker's license, and your own E&O policy. Third possibility is this. You don't have to even be an agent or a broker, and you can own your own property management company as long as you have a separate broker of record who does have a broker's license. And of course, you have to have an E&O policy. So a lot of people get confused by that. The reality is anybody can own any business with one exception. The only way you can own a law firm is if you are in fact an attorney, okay? It's the only exception, but you and I can both own property management companies. In other words, we can be the owner. We're just not doing the work. Our job is to cash checks, okay? So I want to get that out of the way first. Now, in Canada, believe it or not, you don't even have to have a realtor's license to manage properties, which is kind of unusual because, I was part-time in Ontario, and Ontario has very strict education requirements just to get your basic realtor's license, your basic agent license. It's similar to California. California is like, I think, 235 hours or something like that. It's 230 hours, excuse me, I think is what it is. And Canada is really no different. But oddly enough, in Canada, you don't have to have a license. Now, there is legislation being presented in Toronto to require that you have to have a license to manage property. So in any case, I just want to get that out of the way first, because it's always one of the first questions that pops up. So what I'm going to do right now is talk about when you're managing your properties, or if you're managing for one other person or other people, it actually all starts with the process of buying, when you actually buy the property. And I go back to this, and I emphasize this very strongly, which is you want to make sure you're buying in the right areas. I know it sounds obvious, guys, but let's face it, a lot of people don't. In fact, most investors don't. They don't go through the proper process of identifying the macro area and the micro area so that they buy within the correct areas. And it's not necessarily the most expensive. It's not the cheapest. There's always a sweet spot of where you buy your rentals, okay? And I don't want to go into all those details tonight because we got more to cover. You can find all that out if you read the book, Rental Profits Without the Pain, or some of you are in that program or have taken that program, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And in the Investor Agent program, we also touch on it, obviously, in the beginning. The point is, it all starts with when you purchase your properties, okay? That's probably the most important part. course, it's the beginning. So in any case, I mentioned it right here. You definitely got to be focusing on the area. And again, look at the other programs, guys, and the other tools to make sure you're following the instructions and using those tools to identify, again, the macro area and then the micro area. Okay, so that's the first thing in the process. If you notice here, and by the way, this is the Turning Rental Problems into Real Estate Profits book that I'm looking at here, and all of you have access to that. If you go to My Investment Services and you click on Members area, here, let's just do that. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's go into My Investment Services right here. Okay, you're just thinking about it. Click on Members area. Okay, and then click on Silver Level. Okay, and by default, all of us are members, including me. Okay, and then if you go down here, Premier eBooks, not earbooks, eBooks, click on that. Okay, the other ones are free. Anybody can get the free books. But in here, you'll see the different books that no matter what program, get all these for free. So here's the one on buying rentals, rental profits without the pain. And here's the one on turning rental problems into real estate profits. This is on managing properties. That's what I'm looking at tonight. So if you want this, go to My Investment Services website, click on Members area, log into Silver Level, go over here to your panel, the blue panel, and drop down to Premier eBooks, click on that. Then you go in here and select the book. Okay, and I'm not going to go through the process because I've got it obviously, and you'll see the process you go through to get this and all of the other books. So you can do a download. All these are electronic. You can get a printed version, by going to Amazon. I believe they're on. I think there's a discount code you get if you want it. There's always shipping and handling. We can't do anything about that, but we can give you the book for free, electronically, completely, and physically, no cost to us. But the Amazon's going to charge you their $5, $4, $5, whatever it is. So anyways, back to this screening. You notice after I talked about the process of where you buy, the most important thing is screening. I know it doesn't happen first in the process, but we cover it first because this is absolutely the most critical part of the whole process. This, guys, I just want you to write this down. Screening is where the business is won or lost. Simple as that. That's I can't emphasize it enough. It's the screening that allows you to either be successful or have a lifetime of headache and heartache and gray hair. Okay, just know I'm living proof. All right, I used to buy properties. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't bought. Look good on paper, making a lot of money. I mean, I was making money, but I was getting old fast doing it too. You can make a lot of money, but also buy in the right areas. Okay, so in any case, screening. We're going to go into screening a little bit of detail here because it is critically important. And I'm just going to get as far as we can, okay? And then we'll continue with the week after Thanksgiving, which is going to be again November 29th, Thursday. That'll be the second part of this series here. So in any case, a couple things I want you to write down. I don't want you to read what's on the computer screen here because you can do that on your own. But here's the key points I want you to focus on. So this is what I want you to write, guys. I'm going to go into some marketing advertising here in a second. But before I do, I want to go over what do you do when people respond to your ads. Okay. So number one is this. I suggest you have a separate phone line, a dedicated phone line. Could be a landline, could be cell phone, whatever floats your boat. Okay. Dedicated only to tenant calls. You know what your tenants have in your personal phone number, trust me. All right. Now, you're going to let them leave a message. Don't ever answer the phone directly unless you're expecting a call from someone and you recognize the number. In the case of pre-screening, telephone screening prospective tenants, first call is them calling you, responding to an ad, and you're going to let them leave a voicemail. All right. And in the voicemail, you're going to determine, did they leave you name, phone number, and some brief information, okay? And you're gonna, when you call them back, and by the way, I call everybody back in one chunk of time. Usually in the evenings after dinner, I can do it in 2 hours and call everybody back, maybe an hour sometimes. But you're gonna use what's called a telephone questionnaire, okay? Telephone questionnaire. looks like an application, but we don't call it an application because they haven't actually filled out an application. They will eventually, but right now we're doing the telephone questionnaire, and in there you're going to have you can look, if you can find this in your material, by the way, if you're in the rental property management program, turning rental problems into real estate profits. That's the program. Indication there, telephone questionnaire, basic information, name, their contact information. I like to get phone number and email, and also their current physical address, where they are now. In a formal application, which you'll do later on, you'll get not just a current but prior address also. Right now, we just want to get current information. Okay, it's a telephone questionnaire, and you're going to go through asking these questions and filling this form out. You're going to basically handwrite in the answers on this form. So you ask it, hey, where is it did you live right now? Can I get your current address? And then you also ask them about employment, okay? And then you're gonna then put on there where they said they're working, okay? The location, the name of the business, and so forth. How long have they worked there? Okay, and by the way, on the where they're currently living, how long have they lived there? You're going to write the answers down because later on you're going to compare the application back to the telephone questionnaire, right? There's more to it. In other words, you're not just gathering information for the sake of having information. You're gathering information because you're going to do some detective work. You're going to compare apples and apples here, right? Hopefully apples and not apples and oranges. So in any case, when you're doing the telephone questionnaire, you're going to want to start asking questions about their needs and wants. So one thing you have to be careful of are discrimination laws. And if you phrase questions incorrectly, someone could theoretically file a complaint against you that you discriminate against them. So for example, let's say you ask someone how many children they have. You actually can't do that. I mean, you may get away with it, but what you should do, what you're supposed to do is ask, how many bedrooms do you need? Okay. Now, you and I both know, if they say, well, I need 4 bedrooms, they probably have a lot of kids, and they'll probably more likely answer, well, I need 4 bedrooms because I have my husband and myself, or my wife and myself, and 5 kids, 2 older boys, 2 older girls, and a young one, and they need, therefore, 3 bedrooms. Let them explain things to you, and that's okay. Just remember, you should be asking the questions, how many bedrooms do you need? Okay. Also, I asked them, where do the children go to school? Okay, because let's face it, if they got 3 children, 4 children, 5 children, and they're all in school and they've been there for a couple of years, there must be some pretty compelling reasons about why they want to move, right? So all these things are going to trigger your intuition and help you piece together the story here. So in any case, when you start talking about the children, then you can ask, where do they go to school? That is legitimate. You can ask that question, and you should ask it. Okay. You're also trying to determine where they work and where they go to school relative to where your property is that they may be wanting to rent from you. You can also determine how far it is from where they currently live to see if maybe they have a higher tolerance for longer commutes and things like that. Okay. In any case, I also ask about pets. Now, a quick pause here. I'm going to go over this in a bit. I actually have a pet policy. I used to have a no pet policy, only to find out later on I actually had pets. And I got tired of fighting that battle, so I thought, well, heck, I'm gonna test this out and see if I can turn it into a profit center. So and I did. So what I'm getting at here is that I actually advertise pet friendly or pets allowed, something like that. And the people who are good pet owners will be thrilled, and they'll call you up. Now, so it's okay to ask them if they have a pet. Now, one thing here, if they because of discrimination rules, they may have a service pet. We used to call them guide dogs or service dogs. And that's okay. But let's say you had a no pet policy. You actually can't discriminate against people who have a service animal. Can't do that. Okay. So in any case, pet policy, it's okay. You've advertised that, yes, you can have pets. So it's okay to ask, do you have pets? What kind of pets do you have? And you want to take down the information. Cat, dog, whatever the type of animal it is. And if it's a dog, you want to say, oh, I love dogs. I have dogs. What kind of dog do you have? And they'll tell you. If they say if it's a mixed breed, make sure you ask, oh, what do you believe is in the mix? And here's why, just behind the scenes. Insurance companies, when they insure rental properties, often your own homes too, by the way, they'll have an exclusion to coverage on certain dogs. There's 5 of them they will exclude from coverage. They consider them dangerous dogs. Rottweilers, pit bulls, German shepherds, chows, Doberman pinschers. I think those are the 5. Kind of a shame because dogs are basically okay. It's really how people treat them that condition them and train them to be mean. But in any case, different story, different day. The point is, you want to find out what they have. So if they have a dog that's one of those breeds, or even a partial breed of one of those 5 breeds, don't rent to them. Can't do it because your insurance company won't allow it. Okay. Now the next thing I ask is once they tell me the breed, I'm pretty sure how big different dogs are. A little Chihuahua is about a pound, but Saint Bernard can be 175 pounds. So the reason this is important is, let's say you're renting a 4th floor studio apartment, small, 500-600 square feet, and they've got a 175-pound Saint Bernard. That's not a good match. I would tell them that they need to be on a 1st floor apartment, right? Because I don't want them tromping up and down the stairs all hours of the day and night taking their dogs out for the walk, or worse yet, they get lazy or it gets cold and they don't let the dog out, and then you've got a mess on your hands. So I always try to make sure, particularly bigger dogs are always down on the lower level floors. Okay. So in any case, ask those kind of questions. Also ask them, when are they looking to make a move? You can tell them what the requirements are, financial requirements to rent the apartment. So if you got an apartment that's renting for $1,500 a month, we use the banking requirements on financial approvals, which is basically your rent should not be more than 1/3 of their take-home pay. In other words, they need to be bringing home $4,500 a month to rent a $1,500 a month apartment. So you want to mention that on the call and ask them, what is their take-home pay? Okay. So in any case, you go through this telephone questionnaire. Now, once you've gathered information and you determine that, it looks like a pretty good match. The number of bedrooms they need matches what you have to offer. They got a pet and it's a 1st floor unit, things like that. At that point, what I do is I tell them, please go drive by the property in a neighborhood and make sure you're comfortable being there. This is what I'm telling them. And then once you've done that, call me back. If you can do that in the next 48 hours, that would be great, because tell them you're scheduling appointments now to see the property, and you require that they drive by first before they come. You meet them, you make an appointment to show them the property. It does a couple of things. It's another weeding tool. You get to separate the wheat from the chaff. If they don't ever go by there or they don't call you back, you probably just save yourself a bunch of time, right? So the ones that go by and come back and say, hey, great neighborhood, I like the house on the corner, you can tell if they actually went there. Restaurants close by, whatever. At that point, go ahead and schedule an appointment. Now, here's where we separate ourselves from the herd. So this is what I want you to write down. We only do showings typically on Saturdays. Very rarely will I show a unit in the evening, and almost never on a Sunday. I don't show vacant units on Sundays. Always on Saturdays. We do them in 2-hour intervals. So I'll be at one unit from 9 to 11, right? Or maybe 11:15. Then I'll go to another unit from 11 to 1, another unit from 1 to 3, another unit from 1 to 5. So I can show 4 units in a day. And then what I do with the individual appointments for showing is I schedule them in intervals. So if I've got a big 3-bedroom unit, in 2 hours, I'll probably make 6 appointments, 20-minute appointments each. Okay. Now, if I've got a smaller property, like a 1-bedroom unit, I might make the appointments every 10 or every 15 minutes. So I can do 8 showings. And this is kind of important because, believe it or not, if you think about the number of bedrooms you have in the demand for apartments out there, obviously there's more demand for 1 and 2-bedroom apartments than there are for 3 or 4-bedroom apartments. Okay. So that's why you have fewer showings in a 2-hour time frame. And also because if you think about it, it takes longer to go through a 3 or 4-bedroom unit. And if they got children, they're going to want to take more time to check out you and the property and everything else. So, and yet with the 1-bedroom units, usually in and out, they get it, they want it, they don't want it, it's fast, right? So if you think about this, I'm dramatically reducing my effort. I'm bringing everybody in a two-hour chunks in small intervals. Now, the other thing you want to write down is this. You're going to have some overlap. Some people will be late, some people will be early, so you're going to have some overlap in there. But two important things. Number one is at least you have some time with each of them, just you and them, so you can focus on them and check them out. And on the other hand, let's say there is some overlap. Two people are there at the same time, and you're a good landlord and you got a great unit. Believe me, it'll help create scarcity and urgency, and you'll find yourself getting more applications, which is good. You definitely want more applications, okay? So in any case, I'm going to keep walking through the process here, then we'll move on to marketing advertising, I promise. But so you're at the apartment now, and you're showing the units, right? Showing the unit. And let's say you show it to 5 people, okay? You schedule 6 appointments, 1 person doesn't show up, whatever. You've got 5 people see it. And 4 of them fill out applications, all right? Here's what I do, and this is, you definitely want to write this down, guys. I always collect at that time the security deposit, all right? And I take checks, by the way, okay? Because I don't have to go to the bank to deposit them. I can just take a picture and do it over the phone. But in any case, I collect the application at that point. So they go through the unit, they say they like it, you like them, go ahead and give them the application. Even if you don't want them to have one, if they've come to see the unit and they ask for an application, you actually have to give them one, okay? Don't ever, if they've gone through the phone interview into a drive-by and they view the apartment, okay, you could be have a complaint filed against you if you don't give them an application and they've asked for one. So everybody who asks for one, just give them the application. They fill them all out. When you can't turn in the application, you do it right there on the spot. I don't let them take the application with them. I don't do that. If they want the unit, they got to take care of the application right there on the spot. They provide me a check written out to the property management company for the deposit, the security deposit on the unit, okay? And I also give them a deposit receipt. I get a separate form for the security deposit. Describes how the security deposit is processed and handled, what happens to it, what happens at the end of the lease. Everything is in there, the policy, okay? And I also have them write me a check for the first month's rent. And I don't deposit any of those things right now. And I get a third check, which is this, the application fee. That's not refundable, okay? So you want to get 3 checks. Security deposit, first month's rent, and the application fee itself. Could be $50, could be $75, but you take that. That's what you charge to run their application and run their credit check and background check and all that. Now on the security, when you run the application, you're going to get 4 things: credit history, job history, public records, which is criminal background, and their where they've lived. It'll show a good report. NRT will show them, will show you those 4 things. You want to definitely get that, right? So in any case, you process the application, whether they get the unit or not. That application fee is yours. Now let's say you did get 4 applications, and you need to run them all 4. By the way, okay. There's very few exceptions. Very few states will say you have to run one at a time. I think that's it's an injustice to all the other applicants. If someone gives me an application, I'm going to run the application, okay? And the reason is let's say you run 4 of them, and 2 of them definitely don't qualify. One of them's pretty good, but the other one's definitely better. The only thing you can use as your criteria is the money. It's the one thing you can use to determine which one you take over the others. If you have a dead heat, so let's say you take 4 applications, 2 won't work, 2 will, and they're a dead heat, always take the one that you receive first. So when I receive the applications, I do a date timestamp right there on the top of the application, so I know which one came in first and second and third and fourth. And by the way, one more thing I forgot to mention earlier. Your policy, you should always hand them your policies for taking applications and handling application fees and running applications and all that, and the leasing. Always give them your written policy. Or you can say, written policy available upon request. You can say that right on your application form, right? So in any case, you want to let people know what your policy is for processing applications. Because if you get multiple applicants, you can't take them all. And the ones you don't take are the one, well, why didn't you take me? You got to be able to explain to them. And if they say, well, am I more qualified? Or maybe I was first, you can say, nope, you weren't first. This person was first. I have a date time stamped. And our policy is in a tie, we take the person who turned in first. Otherwise, we take the person who's most highly qualified. That's a policy. You've got it written down. There's no questions. It's not discrimination. And by the way, if they really are qualified, you might be able to get them in another unit. I used to do that all the time. I'd say, look, these units are all nice. That's why there's such high demand. I tell you what, I've got another one coming up here. Instead of you running an application again, let's have you take a look at that. I'll go show it to you if you're interested. And you might be able to get one of your other units rented. So in any case, now let's say you've got your candidate, you qualify them, you call them up and they say, great, I'm so glad, I can't wait to move in. At this point, you want to meet them within 24 hours. Okay, this is my requirement. I had them go to the office. They got to go sometime in the next 24 hours to the office to sign the lease on the unit. Okay, completely fill it out, sign it, and at that point, you are going to deposit their first month's rent in advance. You should have already, as soon as you qualify them, you did their application and qualify them, and they agreed. Remember, you already had the policy in their hands. You've given them a deposit receipt. At that point, you deposit their security deposit, because that takes your unit off the market. All right. At that point, they're locked in. But the reason why you want to do the lease within 24 hours is it's really not locked in. I mean, if you could find yourself going to court and the judge is going to say, well, you really don't have a lease yet, you got to get them a deposit back. That's why I make them do the lease within 24 hours. Come in, I've already got the first month's rent check, get the lease signed, drop the check in the deposit it that day or the next day. And always remember this too. You need to have at least a week for checks to clear, minimum a week. So I always make sure this is all done a few weeks in advance of the unit being available, because I'm not going to let somebody move in and take the risk of a check bouncing later on, okay? I'm not going to take that risk. The other option you have is this. You can open up a merchant account and you can process credit cards, okay? If you want to do that, just know that there's fees involved with that. We used to do it, and you might pay up to 4% sometimes of your gross receipts. That's pretty steep, okay? You can also do ACH, wire transfers, direct deposits, all kinds of things you can do. You can do it through PayPal. There's lots of things you can do, but just be aware that the simpler, the better. You want to have your processes be as simple as possible, okay? So in any case, now, let's just do this. Let's go into some marketing and advertising, because I think we've gotten pretty clear on the phone screening, the application, the showing, and all that. But before we move forward, let's go to your question box and check on questions. Okay, so this is from Andrew. Hey, Andrew, how you doing, buddy? Welcome aboard, man. I'm glad you're on the webinar. Okay, so Andrew's asking, okay, this may sound dumb. This is my first webinar, but are all the Word documents noted, are all the Word document notes you're going through available to us, or will Bev be emailing them to us? So Andrew, if you're in the Investor Agent Training Program, so all that material is available to you through the Digital Chalk Learning Management System, okay, the training platform. And then on the My Investment Services website, Andrew, you have the books. They're the small books on the other subjects, not the whole training programs. You can get those. You can get them for half price as a student. But also on that website are a lot of other resources and tools, okay? So what I suggest to people is on these webinars is just take like high-level notes, crib notes, and then when you go into your material, you can match everything up. It'll basically enrich your learning experience. It'll help enhance what you're learning, okay? So not of them question, a good question. So thank you for asking the question. Okay, all right, let's do this, guys. Let's go into marketing and advertising. All right, so I'm going to pull my panel back over so we can see the whole screen here. Okay, a couple things here. Marketing and advertising, guys, just briefly, are actually two different things. Marketing has more to do with determining your market. What is the market? Research data, defining what we call your avatar. Who are you going to try to appeal to with your advertising? Okay, that's all the marketing, the front end stuff. Advertising is what you're actually going to say to them and how you say it. In other words, we call that the media and the message. So marketing determines what media you use, right? And the advertising uses that media and the language patterns, what your copywriting is what the advertising is all about. So nonetheless, when it comes to marketing and advertising, always do a thorough job of determining who's the most likely candidate to rent your unit. Okay, we call that your avatar. And then when you write your ad, you want to write the ad as if you're speaking to that person. Okay, these are called targeted ads. They're not discriminatory. What you're doing is you're attracting the people who would be the best candidates for your unit, and not attracting the other. You're not repelling them. It's just your wording is people again who have 5 children and 3 dogs are not going to want to rent a 4th floor studio apartment. They're going to want a first floor 3-bedroom or a townhome or a single family home. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So the media should always be appropriate for your target audience. So if you have student housing, obviously you want to use the campus's bulletin boards. Some are online, some are physically up on walls in like the student centers and libraries and cafeterias and things like that. So make sure the media is appropriate for your audience, okay? Because you want to match up. Some of you probably see me do this. We call it the marketing triangle. So triangle, the top end represents your market, the people you're looking to approach. One of the other M's is your media. What media are you using? Radio, television, printed material, Facebook, whatever. And the third M is your messaging. You want to match in the triangle: market, message, media. Okay. When you do that, you'll have more highly qualified callers, I guess is what I'm getting at. So in the marketing and in the advertising, you want to describe the unit as briefly as possible. Okay. Just high level, 3-bedroom, 1 bath, 3rd floor, what part of town it's in, and also and 2 schools of thought here. I get it, 2 schools of thought. I do put in the rent. The reason is, for me, it's a screening tool, because I don't want everybody calling me because it sounds like a great apartment. I want them calling me because it sounds like a great apartment and they think they can afford it. Okay. So I don't want people calling me up only to find out they don't qualify, right? So I try to be as clear as possible, in few words as possible, describing the unit and how much it costs, what part of town it's in, what floor it's on, if there's parking, all of that I put in the ad, because I want to attract the people who want to need those things and not attract the people who don't. Okay. And also in there, I do put in there, pets approved or pet friendly. I don't go beyond that, right? And I just want to put that in there because I don't want to. Sometimes bad pet owners will sometimes try to keep from you pertinent information about their pets. All right. So I just general, pet policy, call for details, something like that. All right. So that's usually, and by the way, very important. In your ad, always put some type of an emotional appeal statement. A benefit is what we're talking about. It shouldn't all be features. Should be benefits and features. Now, in most advertising, you put way more benefits. When it comes to renting apartments, turns out you want to have more on the feature side, but at least at minimum, at least one emotional statement, like enjoy short commutes to downtown. Great walking location. Walk to restaurants, walk to shops, walk to stores, whatever. Walk down by the river. Whatever it is you want to, however it is you want to appeal to them, make sure you paint the picture in their mind. Use words that describe hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, things like that. These are sensory things that when you appeal to them, it creates an emotional charge. So in any case, that's why we mentioned benefits, because benefit is going to create an emotional charge. And a benefit of living in a unit is not that it has 3 bedrooms. The benefit is that, they can walk to local restaurants, or they can, take a stroll down by the river, whatever the case is. So, in any case, those are some of the key things on advertising. When it comes to media, local colleges, we talked about that, using bulletin boards electronically and also in print form. Craigslist, believe it or not, still a great tool. Facebook, I really don't use Twitter. I mean, I use it as a business. I don't even touch it, quite frankly. And I don't advertise rentals on LinkedIn either. But Facebook, absolutely. Tenant referral program, guys, man, awesome way to get great tenants. If you have great tenants already, definitely reward them. Encourage them to mention your vacancies to friends, neighbors, relatives, coworkers, fellow church members, what have you. Believe me, good tenants who care about where they live also care about who lives near them, right? So they want to take care of that. If they feel like they have some say-so in the matter, it's like you're rewarding them for good behavior, and also give them some other type of reward too. Say, look, you refer a tenant to us and they qualify, and we rent a unit to them. We'll give you a coupon, buy one dinner and get one free, or get a dinner, get a free coupon, whatever, down at one of those local restaurants. You got to be careful what you use for incentives. It is legal to do that, but you have to have actually a policy on it. Okay, always remember, have a policy for everything. And by the way, in the Turning Rental Problems into Real Estate Profits training program, all those policies are in there. Okay, so we give you the Word documents, just print them off and keep them yourself. But in any case, I love referral programs. When things start to get a little tight, in other words, if vacancies are on the increase, I'll go to referral programs a lot more and increase the rewards for doing that. In any case, a great way to reward your current tenants and ensure you get even more good tenants coming in there. Okay, you can also advertise in church bulletins, grocery store bulletin boards, again, local restaurants. Again, approach the restaurant managers and tell them, say, look, I'm going to send more business your way. I've got a large apartment complex right around the corner. I've got several properties in the area. I love the restaurant. I eat here every time I'm here. Would you be willing to create a coupon for me that allows people I send to you to buy one meal, get one free, or buy a meal and get a free dessert? Would you be okay with that? And most restaurateurs would be, actually. So, and you tell them, you'll even split the cost of the printing with them. So you get these coupons. You send do an email campaign, or put physical notes on all the doors of units announcing that you got a vacancy, and your tenants can participate in who they get in there. And if they bring somebody who qualifies and they rent, then you give them the one of the coupons. Okay. Local publications. We don't, guys, just make sure you write this down. We don't use the major papers. We don't use the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Baltimore Sun, the whatever, LA Times. We don't use those papers at all. We do use the local ones, though. Penny Savers, Green Sheets, they're all over the U.S. and Canada. Ads are usually very inexpensive, and everybody picks those things up when you go to the grocery stores. The point is this, is if you think about all of these forms of advertising, all of them are very location specific. Okay, that's why we don't use the big publications. I'm not going to put an ad in the New York Times going out to 10 million people when my unit might be up in the Bronx. Nobody in Brooklyn or Manhattan's going to want to go from downtown Manhattan to the finance district all the way up to the Bronx. You follow what I'm saying? So when you're advertising rentals, it's a location specific type ad. The only exception would possibly be the online media. But again, with Facebook, you can laser beam focus. You can get really nitty gritty nichey on your Facebook ads and appeal to people in any specific area. In any case, that's your Marketing and advertising. All right. We already talked about the screening and responding to ads, showing rentals. How are we doing on time here? All right, I'm going to talk about subsidized housing for a second, but before we do, let me just pull this over and check for questions here. This is Tom Donnelly. Hey, Tom, how you doing, buddy? Hope things are going pretty good out there in sunny, warm San Diego. All right, great call last night too, by the way. Okay, hey, Gary, is there a minimum threshold for the amount of apartments you require before considering property management? Question one, also, do you do your own PM to make more monthly cash or for other reasons? So good question, Tom. Okay, guys, in principle, I want all of you who are building a portfolio of rentals to eventually turn it over to property management. I use the word eventually for a couple reasons. Now, some people have different risk thresholds than others. So if you're buying out of town, obviously you can't manage them yourself. You have to pay for property management, right? But let's say you're just starting off and you just want to invest in your own local area. That's what your risk threshold will allow you to do. If that's true, that means you're going to want to have more control. And if you want to have more control, you're going to want to be basically more involved with the management of the property. So here's what I suggest. Go ahead and manage your own in the beginning if you'd like to. I did it myself. You know, in the beginning, I just thought I didn't want to turn over that control and actually have to pay for it too, right? So to me, it was twofold. And I did that for probably, I bet that was probably 3 years. First year, and maybe it was 2 years, 2 to 3 years. In any case, so when I got to about 40 units, 40, 45 units, I was working my butt off. I was making a lot of money. All right. And by the way, I still had a full-time job at that point too. But in any case, what I did was I started turning over the management responsibilities, not control, but responsibilities in increments. So the first thing I did, Tom, was actually purely by accident, I had to show a unit across town, and I couldn't get there. It just, just long story, but I couldn't get there. And I had another tenant, another duplex down, like 2 doors down. I had a good relationship with one of the tenants there, so I called her up and I said, "Would you please do me a huge favor? I know it's a strange request, but I've got to show the unit, the vacant unit 2 doors down. I can't get there. Okay, would you mind please just going and open up the door, just let the people in and shut it and lock it. I'll tell you where there's a spare key." So she does that. I called her later on. She had sent me she's faxed to me. She went over there of her own volition. She kept copies of everything I gave her before, blanks and filled in copies. She took blanks over there, had the people fill in the blank form, the application, showed them all around, asked them all the questions as if she was a landlord, right? And when she called me later, I'm like, I was blown away. I'm like, man, this feels pretty good. I rented the unit to a great tenant, by the way. I didn't have to lift a finger, right? And what I did is I rewarded her by giving her essentially 10% of the first month's rent. She didn't expect anything; it was just a favor. Well, as you might imagine, I hired her to work for me part-time, showing units on Saturdays, and she loved it. She got to make extra money. And in any case, it was a good arrangement. So that's the first thing I turned over. I'd already also turned over. I didn't do cleanouts. I didn't do my own cleaning. The very first unit I ever had, I actually did clean it myself. I did everything myself. I very quickly got out of that game. So I turned over cleaning, right? I then also turned over painting, all right? Because I can tell you, painting, you can hire somebody to paint a unit for you, and it'll be a far better use of your time than you painting it yourself. Just believe me, right? Your time is more valuable spent being the rainmaker and investing in more properties. But in any case, I turned things over in chunks. And as you might imagine, over time, I actually had a team of people, cleaning, painting, showing apartments, doing maintenance and repairs, so forth and so on. I essentially built my own property management team, and that was about what I got to be about 40 some odd units is when all I was doing was just basically overseeing everything, and I was buying a lot more units at that point too, by the way. So Tom, to answer your question, it was a gradual thing. For everybody on the phone, I've had people tell me when they got to 10 units, that was it. They couldn't take any more. Some people I know manage 90 units on their own. I don't know how they do it, but that's what they do. They might not do anything else. I don't know. But it's everybody's different. So the answer to Tom's questions, guys, is each of us has our own risk threshold. We need to determine what that is. And if right off the bat, right out of the gate, you don't want to deal with phone calls or tenants or anything at all, then you definitely need property management. Now, this leads me to another statement. So I appreciate Tom bringing up this question, is you've got to pay for that, okay? So remember in the beginning, I said the very first thing in the process was how you buy your property, where you buy it, all that type of stuff. This is another reason why that's so important, because when you buy a property, even if you're going to manage yourself, always include in your pro forma, your numbers you're running on the property, include a management fee. I suggest make it 10%. Some parts of the country it's 8, some 6, some 10. Just make it 10%. The reason is if you're doing your own management, that's separate than ownership. Management is not the same as ownership. Ownership is what you take profit to reward you for being owner. You take profit to reward you for being owner. If you manage properties, that's a separate profit center. You should pay yourself a fee for that. I'm not saying you do or you don't. I'm just saying you should account for that as if you were paying yourself a management fee. Because let's face it, even if you don't, and you decide later on to turn it over to management, boy, you better have that fee included in your pro forma. Because if you don't, now it's going to come out of what? It's going to come out of your profit, right? You see what I'm saying? Profit and property management are two different things. And I see a lot of owners, that's one of the most common mistakes they make is they think that they'll get a better deal. they can get more properties by managing their own, only to find out later on, gee, they wish they could turn it over, but if they don't have enough profit built in, they didn't account for that management fee in the beginning when you first bought it, got to come out of profit. So Tom, that is an excellent question, man. And sorry for the long answer, but I just want to explain the logic behind that decision process. Also question. Let's see, that was Tom. Yeah, looking forward to, hey, Tom, so Tom's in a mastermind group, guys, and we're meeting in January out in San Diego, Friday the 11th, Saturday the 12th. And in San Diego, we're going to take Sunday for a fun day or a travel day and hopefully get out on the water there, do some paddleboarding, stuff like that. And we do some pretty cool stuff up at the mastermind level. Usually bigger projects, things like that. Okay, so let's see. This is Fassel. Hey, Fassel, good call today. Fassel says, how hard is it building a team for property management company, i.e. contractors? So Fassel, my experience was most pieces were pretty easy. Like having a person answer the phone, that was easy. Having a person clean out the units, that was easy. Painters were easy. Basic maintenance and repairs, not as easy, but still pretty easy. The tougher part came when I had to outsource and hire specialty people, like an electrician who was licensed and bonded, or a plumber who's licensed and bonded. When I had to put in new stacks and sewer lines and things like that, or roofs, now you got to hire, real pros. You can't have like handyman do that type of stuff, right? So the thing is too, fast on that is those types of repairs actually don't qualify as repairs. They qualify as capital improvements. So when it comes to tax time, you treat them differently. Maintenance and repairs are usually small, $100, $200 in generally speaking. You write those off in the year you took the expense. Capital improvements, you're generally doing, you're going to add that to your cost basis and you're going to depreciate those over time. In any case, back to the original question. I always had multiple contractors, Fassel, that I went to for the big jobs, and not to have them bid against each other, but I wanted to get different ideas and different suggestions. In fact, I've had big remodeling jobs and flips and things like that, where I would have 3 contractors give me 3 different bids, and it could be completely different. And what I would do is I'd get the bids. Actually, you guys should write this down. I'd get bids in 2 formats. One format was I wanted by component. How much for painting, how much for electrical work, how much for plumbing, how much for rough-in, how much for roofing. broken down by component. That's first view. Second view, I wanted it broken down by room, right? What are we doing for each individual room? Bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, kitchen, bathroom. Then we're going to break it down by room, and the two should crossfoot. In other words, the component view, right, should match, and at the end of the day, the view by room view. I call it the by room view. And what that did, Fassel, is this: is it allowed me to really compare apples and apples. Number one. Number two is I got a lot of good ideas from these guys, because one contractor might have been more expensive, but it's because he had an idea that one of the other guys didn't have, or vice versa. And what I could do is pretty much come up with my modified project plan based on what I received from them, and go with the one that I really wanted to go with. At one point, I actually had 5 crews out there. I had 5 different crews out there, doing big jobs, big remodeling jobs, adding additions, doing the flip side was when I was doing a lot of flips back then. And they ended up being pretty regular crews of mine, but that developed over time, Fassel. In the beginning, it was really just each time I had to go out there and interview and get 2 and 3 bids minimum, and you really should get 3 guys. Sometimes I did it with just 2. I think you should get 3. Okay, if you do 2, I won't shoot you, but go for go for 3. And not just again, you're not gonna take the cheapest one. You're gonna take the one you feel most comfortable with, that they feel like they got a good project scope, and they understand what it is you're looking to accomplish with your project. The smaller scale stuff, Fassel, pretty easy. Those guys ended up all being employees anyways, right? So, anyways, here, that was Fassel, that was Tom. I think we're done with the questions, guys. Let's do this. Let's hold off before we do any more, because I don't want to get something started that we can't finish, or just we don't have, it's going to take a lot longer than we want to take. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and cut it off here. That was a good session. Lots of content, lots of good questions, and I appreciate you guys' participation. So remember, next week, Monday the 19th, it's at 8 p.m. Eastern, not 7, 8 p.m. Eastern. And you definitely want to be on here, guys, because I'm going to go into the affiliate program that we had developed for you. It's all going to be automated, systematized, easy stuff, downloads, screens you can go to get information, download material, download ads, download copyright that you can put in emails. And also, you're going to learn some tricks to the trade when it comes to getting referral business. So it's really like a win-win. It's what we wanted, was to make it something you could use yourselves, but also use to help you bring in people into the program that you think might appreciate any of the 5 programs. And we're actually going to give you the recordings of those when we go through them in December. So pretty neat process. In any case, you guys have an awesome rest of the week here, a great weekend. God bless you and your families, and we will see you on Monday night. Okay, take care, guys. Bye-bye.